Good afternoon, friends. How are you doing today? I'm hoping that you're having a great day and enjoying what hopefully is good weather where you are at. We're certainly having a good day here, weather-wise, in Sherwood Park, Alberta. But I'm just curious how the weather is for our guest, who is actually all the way pretty much across the globe there. Our guest is joining us from Qatar today. And before I introduce our guest and have him on to join us in the conversation for an hour and a bit here, let me just again welcome you to another episode of Conversations with Dune and Friends. And in this conversation here, we're going to have our guest, Dr. Byrad Yyelland, joining us here. And so maybe I assume you can still hear me in the green room there, my friend. Wonderful. So we're ready to go. So let me just do a quick introduction here, and we can then get underway. And so Dr. Byrad Yyelland is now entering his 11th year teaching in the social sciences at the Virginia Commonwealth University School of Arts in Qatar. Now, he moved from Lloydminster, Alberta to Doha, Qatar in 2008 to teach and to serve as director of the Liberal Arts and Science LAS program, which he did for 7 years. Now, he returned to Canada in the summer of 2015 and started teaching in anthropology, sociology department of Mount Royal University, while training to build a career as a professional speaker. While living in Calgary, Byrad continued to conduct research with colleagues in Doha, and when the university contacted him to ask if he would consider returning as a teacher, faculty member, he agreed and left Calgary in the fall of 2017. Now, through an unexpected administration shuffle on the campus, he once again found himself as the LAS Interim Director for 2 more years. He is now teaching without administration duties. Byrad has a BA on degree in psychology and MA in sociology, now from the University of Saskatchewan, and a Doctor of Education in higher education and leadership from the University of Calgary. His areas of specialization includes organizational culture change, emotion in the workplace, higher education, and the juxtaposition of social science with the art and design. Now, the common theme throughout these areas of specialization is the significance of how we each interpret the world around us and the subsequent thoughts and emotions and behaviors are resulting from those interpretations. Byrad is a award-winning university instructor who has taught anthropology, psychology, sociology for more than 30 years. He is a published author for multiple international academic journals and international presenter who has spoken in 12 countries on 5 continents. He has conducted social research in more than 20 countries around the world, and he's in Doha. He was one of the 2 faculty members invited to from his university to speak at the inaugural TEDx presentation in Qatar's education city. In addition to writing and speaking, Byrad has been involved in the creation of the award-winning video documentaries about life in favela in Rio de Janeiro and about bamboo. He is currently planning a documentary about relationship between tattooing and spirituality. Now, Byrad also currently holds a Nidan or Nidan, we'll get the pronunciation corrected after, I'm sure, 2nd degree black belt in karate and continues to train regularly while teaching classes in Qatar, free classes in Qatar in again, karate. And so with that introduction, friends, let's join me in welcoming our guest today, Dr. Byrad Yyelland, how are you doing today, my friend? All the way from Qatar, which is about 9 hours into the future. So you're coming to us from the future, 9 hours into the future, to be exact.
That's right. That's right. I'm 9 hours ahead of you.
There you go. So you must have a lot more knowledge and wisdom than we do. You're 9 hours behind.
That's right. We can talk about the lottery now.
Yeah. Well, let's start with something that some of your friends already know, and some of our viewers now and later may be interested in knowing. That is, you are in the middle of your fight with COVID. And tell us, my friend, when did you first get it? And tell us the journey you've been through so far. And I'm so happy that you're healthy enough to join me on the conversation here today. Walk us through it, because many of us don't know a lot about firsthand experience. So let's hear from you, my friend.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I put this on Facebook as soon as I had it confirmed, because I just thought it puts a face on it. It's not just abstract, something in the news, but for people who know me, they can get kind of the real story, at least my experience of it.
Mm-hmm.
I first became sick back in early March, and I was quite sick for about 2 weeks. And I don't honestly know if that was COVID or not. I went to see a physician, and at that time the test was just a series of questions. And based on my answers, they said, okay, no COVID, don't worry about it, which was fine. And then it was more than a month ago. I was practicing an online karate class with a group out of Spain. And I didn't have the energy, and I was coughing a lot. And then that night, I just coughed all night long. I didn't sleep a wink. And the next day, I just felt like I'd been hit by a truck. And I thought, okay, is this a summer cold? Is this a summer flu? Is this COVID? You don't know. So I went to a hospital to get tested, and they said, well, we don't test for COVID here, but we'll do other tests. Yeah. They put me on an oxygen mask to help me breathe. They put me on a drip to bring down my fever. And they did a chest x-ray. I had fluid in my lungs, and they said, okay, based on this, and my white blood cell count was low, they said, look, you have significant markers for COVID. You need to get the COVID test. So I tried to do that, but I had forgotten. I had 2 health cards. I'd forgotten one, so I couldn't get it done. Also, here as a single man versus being with a family, there are, certain restrictions too on where you can get different things done. So what it boiled down to is it took me a few days to get the test. And they called me back that night. It was a 12-hour turnaround. They said, oh yeah, you've got it big. I don't understand the medical part, but they said your what's called a CT score was 37, which meant I was extremely contagious or infectious. And they said, okay, you stay home, 2 weeks mandatory. We recommend a third. So that's what I did. I said, can I stay in my apartment, because I live alone and I'd really rather go lay in a hospital. They said, yeah, no problem. Just don't, have any contact with anybody. So I contacted the management of my apartment building. I contacted my employers. I put it on Facebook. I contacted everybody I knew. I said, look, here's a deal. If you've been near me, please get yourself checked, because obviously I caught it somewhere from somebody. We had just recently opened up hotels and bars and restaurants, and I had been out for a couple of dinners with friends. So people ask me, where did I contract it? I really don't know. But I just tried to let everybody know possible. And I spent 3 weeks in quarantine. And my friends and colleagues, bless their hearts, they have just been tremendous. Because the first 10 days were really very rough. And so they were, people were calling me every day just to see, okay, how you doing? Are you still alive? Do you need to go to a hospital? And can we get you medicine? Can we bring you food? And people were dropping off food at my doorstep, which is great, because, you run out of groceries in the fridge eventually. And so they were, making sure I didn't starve to death. And it was just fantastic. I had tremendous moral support. And after about 10 days, it began, kind of climb out of it. After 3 weeks, I thought, okay, I'm good to go. I've done my time. So I felt I was good to go. I had to go to my office, get some paperwork. So I did that. There was, social distancing, mask, washing my hands, and all of that. I came back. My cough is starting to build up, and I'd like to get confirmation. Look, am I clear of this or not? So I called the physician again. I said, is there another test? What do I do? He said, yep, we'll book you in. So a couple of days later, I went in, and this time it took till the next day. But the nurse called me first thing in the morning. She said, "Yep, you still got it."
Wow.
And, she said my CT score had dropped from 37 down to 28 or 28.5 or 6, which is good, but I'm still infectious.
Right.
So she said, "Okay, 2 more weeks, and then we'll, take it as it goes." And thankfully, I don't have all the initial symptoms, which I can tell you about, but I don't have all those, thank God. You can hear my voice is a bit weak. I'm coughing. I took some cough medicine just before I went on, so I should be good during our interview. But it's been kind of, building up a bit, which has me nervous. And just today, I woke up, exhausted, which is not a good way to start the day. And I thought, oh God, not the fatigue, because initially it was the fatigue and the dizziness that were so incapacitating. I just couldn't function. The cough is irritating, but it's the fatigue and the, as I say, I could say, okay, initially it was like a full body ache, a headache. The lining of my stomach hurt, which I thought was weird. I've never had that before. I had this dry cough. What else?
How about taste and smell? Did that affect you?
They didn't go away totally. They were a bit muted, but they didn't go away totally. My appetite went away. Certainly reduced. But as I say, the main problems for me, at least, were I was just completely and thoroughly fatigued 24/7 and horribly dizzy 24/7. So I just couldn't do anything.
Wow.
Which that's what made me so nervous today, because I woke up, exhausted again. Now I have been able to function and get some work done today at my computer.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Time will tell. But right now I'm in week 5.
Yeah. And tell us a bit about the sort of roller coaster portion of it, where you were feeling really good, getting better to a point where, did I hear it right, that you actually do some karate thing at home and just sort of work the body a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were well enough to be, ambitious to kind of say, I'm going to exercise my body and whatnot. And but then my guess is it gotten worse at some point in the last couple of weeks or a week or two.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I started training again too early. I just thought, I feel like I can do it. And, if you get tired or have a cold, you can still train, you can still exercise. And I thought it might be good, work up a sweat. I would cough a bit, but it was doable. And I have no idea if that's, related to this coming back or not. I just know that it came back. And then, I kind of expected I was going to test positive, but that morning when the nurse phoned me, I said yes, and it's 2 more weeks. It just kind of really bummed me out and made me angry. And what made me angry was this virus won't leave me alone, and I was quite frustrated. And I spent about a day kind of down in the dumps. But my as I said, my friends, bless their hearts, people on Facebook and my family and my friends here. Really, really great about offering support, and just and I'm well aware that my situation is very, very good. I've always said I'm the luckiest person I know in the world. I mean, you look behind me, I've got this big, beautiful apartment. So you got to be quarantined. I've got a big TV over here. I've got my computer. I've got a piano. I'm learning, and I could practice my karate. Plus, I'm not a family. I feel so sorry for people who've got little children who are, bored and frustrated and frightened. That's got so much more difficult. I've got the best case scenario. So I got down for about a day, but then the next day I was, got my chipper self again.
Yeah. Hey, I'm just curious.
Or I might not.
Thank you for sharing that story. I'm just curious. Do you have air conditioning in the place that you're at, my friend, or is it just sort of?
Yeah. It is air conditioning,
because I'm sure it's very hot over there right now. I don't know.
Yeah, right now it's after 9 p.m. and it's still 37 degrees. We're up in the mid 40s in the daytime.
Wow, 37. That is serious temperatures there. Wow.
Yeah, in another month we'll be in the 50s in the daytime.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
50s.
And it starts getting humid. We'll get in the mid 50s. In fact, the other day somebody posted a photograph and their temperature in the car said 53.
Oh my goodness!
Certainly in August to September, we'll be in the mid 50s with 70-80% humidity. It's just you walk to the car and you look like you feel like you've been in a hot shower.
Wow! Oh.
But the winter is beautiful.
Yeah.
The winter is like summer there.
Cool. And is your winter the same? What months are your winter typically over there? What months would it span typically?
By about mid-November, it starts to get nice.
Okay. So
And that lasts until about mid-March. And we
okay.
might get 2, maybe 3 rains. My
Okay.
first year back, 2017, we had rain 5 times, which is extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
When I moved here in 2008, it was 5 years before we saw rain.
Yeah.
But those winter months are phenomenal. It's really beautiful.
So I must underscore what you said earlier, being, like you said, so fortunate. And part of your kind of being in a good spot is also you're quite in good health and good condition and just healthy. I wanted to maybe jump off of that, and I want to show a video of you talking about your involvement in karate and whatever have you, and teaching it and all that kind of stuff. Maybe I'm going to play that video. Tell us about that video that I'm going to bring up and play here, Byrads. The video that the one I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. This is a Qatar Foundation media. It used to be a newspaper, and then they began doing there's a radio station and began doing podcasts. And when I came back in 2017, they wanted to interview me because I had started teaching the karate classes here again. And so they said, okay, well, let's do a profile on this guy and hear what he's doing and how and why. And so they asked me to bring in. I had received an award for Student of the Year in Calgary when I was training. Which was a thorough surprise and blessing. And I brought my karate gi, so I got to show them that crest on my gi, and we talked about that for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, you bet. Let's take a quick look here. There it is, and let's just organize this a bit here. And let me know if you can hear sound when I hit play here, my friend.
My name is Byrad Yyelland. I'm the Interim Director of Liberal Arts and Sciences here at VCUQ, and I teach anthropology and sociology. I began martial arts roughly 17 years ago. I had practiced on and off when I was younger for a month or 2 here, a month or 2 there. I just happened to move to another city, to another college, and took on a teaching position. And as it turned out, in that town was the Canadian, the president of a style of karate that I really admired. And so I began to train. I was 43 years old, and suddenly I'm a white belt taking karate for the first time. And I've stuck with it, and for me it's a lifestyle choice. I've been doing it ever since, and I love it. When I received my first degree black belt, I was 49, and I felt, at my age, that I could accomplish something like that was very empowering. And it's not about, being rough or tough. That's not the point. In fact, we specifically downplay that. And then I got my second degree when I was actually living and teaching here, and I flew to California to test there. The benefits of martial arts, I think, are many. On the one hand, there's an increase in confidence. People become dangerous when they're afraid. When people are not afraid, they can calm down and relax and communicate. I think that is a real benefit of martial arts, is you can be calm and secure yourself, and when you are not afraid, you don't do something to hurt somebody else. At the same time, you have the skills to protect yourself, so you don't get hurt either. More daily benefits, I have many family members who've had hips replaced, knees replaced, things like that. I'm 60 years old, and I haven't had any of those problems. I move freely, my health is good, and I attribute that to the regular exercise that I do.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Tell us a bit more. When did you start this whole regiment of karate and all that? How long ago was that, my friend?
Well, actually, next month it'll be 20 years.
20 years.
I turned 63 in June, and I started when I was 43 when I moved to Lloydminster.
Right. Do you have a story as to why and how you started it? Is there a story behind that decision?
I just, loved karate as a kid. I grew up watching, the Green Hornet with Bruce Lee and the TV series and all that stuff. And I was a timid bookworm kid. And I just thought, wow, if I could, protect myself like these guys, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
And it's just also good exercise. And I was a jogger for many decades and loved it. But I was teaching a class at the University of Saskatchewan it was a healthcare related class. And they were talking about, a lot of these joggers getting knee replacements and hip replacements, and it's not always good. And I thought, oh, wow, good point. So when I moved to Lloydminster and found out there was this phenomenal karate school, I thought, well, maybe I'll just make a switch. And so I went from jogging to karate. And
Nice.
I did jogging for a little while after it. I just thought, well, I'll just pick the one and stay with it. And, karate is an all over body exercise. It's also mental. The older I get, the more aware I am of the things that happen to your body as you age and your mind as you age. And so I'm always thinking, okay, so you see an article that says, how can you help prevent dementia and so forth? And thankfully, there is no family history of dementia in my family, but, also want to be smart and try and prevent what I can. And a lot of the work in karate is, using your memory, using your mind and your focus. And there's also a meditative component. So there's a relaxation. And I just simply like it. And I know I'm kind of going on a bit, but I remember talking in the change room one time to a guy in Lloydminster, and he made a comment to me. He says, you know what? He says, the best people I've met in my life are in karate. And I would second that. They're just, there's something to people, not just karate, but when they get into something where they will, the kind of person who will work hard and go through tremendous challenge and put in tremendous effort, and you're not getting paid for it, you're not getting famous for it. Yep. It's about accomplishment, and there's a camaraderie there. Yep. And the kind of people who will stick that through are just simply, in my experience, wonderful, high quality people.
Yeah.
And the people I've met all over the world now. I can go to many countries around the world, and I've got people that I've met through karate, and they invite me to their homes, and it's wonderful.
Nice. Probably somewhat similar but different than musicians, right? As you know, I'm quite into music, and it connects us at a different level. It doesn't matter what kind of background of the various people in the room. As musicians, we were connected in that way, and camaraderie, as you mentioned, and
and there's that respect for effort.
Mm-hmm.
At my age now, I'm not kicking even like I did 10 years ago.
Right.
And I don't expect to, and people don't expect me to. I mean, I expect myself to do better, and I get frustrated sometimes. But but we see each other work hard. We know each other is doing our best, and we respect one another for that. And so you can have a conversation with somebody, and there's that immediate connection, as you say, with musicians who are working hard, trying to learn, trying to improve.
Yeah. Tell us about your experience with TEDx Education City, and tell us a bit of maybe a backstory before I start playing the video clip here, my friend. We have a wonderful video clip of you in action there, but do you have a backstory to start us off with? How did you get invited to that?
Some students organized a TEDx in Education City, and it was the very first one. Mm-hmm. And so they said, okay, we're going to invite 2 professors from each university campus. Mm-hmm. Education City is a multiversity campus. For example, at University of Calgary, you've got the College of Education, College of Medicine, College of Engineering, etc. They're different buildings, but all on one campus. Mm-hmm. Here, we have one large campus, but engineering is Texas A&M. Medicine is Weill Cornell. We have Carnegie Mellon and Northwestern University, and where I work, Virginia Commonwealth University. So it's a multiversity campus. So 2 professors from each university were invited to speak, and I was one of the 2 from Virginia Commonwealth.
Wow.
It was my very first time, and I was thrilled.
Yeah. You mentioned all the international names that we are very much familiar with, for sure. So that's an interesting concept. It's like, for some reason, I think of this, it's obviously as Education City. The idea is that you got all of the different higher education organizations in that same cluster of location, and very cool concept. I'm curious, is that quite a sprawling thing, or is it high rise mostly? Or I'm curious, is it sort of spreading wide, or is it kind of going up quite high?
No, it's very, very large. I forget the exact square footage, but it's a massive, massive area. And it's beautiful.
Very cool.
Very beautiful. Yeah, it's... when you see the video start, I'm not sure if you'll see the raw panic on my face. just a quick story. Before you go on stage, I better run to the bathroom right away. So I did, and I came back, and they're okay. Away you go. Give me the microphone and the headphones and whatnot. and I'm literally just stepping on this stage, and the thought hits: did I do up my fly? And as I'm walking out, that is the only thought in my head. I don't remember a thing I'm going to say. It's just this huge, I almost see words on a billboard, Is my zipper up or not? I don't know. And I thought, how do you stop and look? So I'll go to the podium, I'll stand behind it, and maybe I can sneak a look and check. And I just, that's all I could think of. And then I thought, okay, I don't know what to do. And so okay, I'll just start talking and just, as it is. There's nothing I can do about it now. And once I kind of got that out of my brain, I could relax and, get into the conversation. But, oh, man, I was just in a panic.
I'm curious now. So the verdict was it or wasn't it?
You'll know when you see it.
Okay. There we go, folks. Let's take a listen. Okay.
When I was in University of Saskatchewan as an undergraduate student, I was involved in a group project like many of you have been involved, and our study was gender. We wanted to look at how gender is portrayed through clothing. And so you can see on the screen some pictures of women. My group was 3 women and me, which is very typical in sociology, usually more women than men. And so we thought we would study gender identity by looking at how we express it in our clothing, and therefore we would send one of the women downtown dressed like a man. Until we began to realize this happens every day in business world, where in fact women often have to dress like men to get respect. So the group got together, and one of the women said, well, my grandmother has a dress that might fit Byrad. Maybe he should go downtown. Now this is not her grandmother, it's a reasonable facsimile, and this is not the dress, it's a reasonable facsimile. But we toured the University of Saskatchewan. I would go first, they would follow behind, and then interview people. What did you think? University of Saskatchewan has 20,000 students. It's a big university. And then we went downtown in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. 3 weeks before Christmas, very cold. I learned dresses are not nearly as warm as pants. I also learned dresses don't have pockets. As a man, I'm used to putting my hands in my pockets, especially when I get nervous. But every time I did that, they would slip off, and I found myself just sort of incidentally slipping into poses that are often very typically related with women.
This is Give a Wow, a new way to give and receive the recognition we all deserve.
And apparently it was the power of the dress. Fashion students can relate. I also learned you get in and out of a vehicle very differently. With pants, you open the door, step in, boom, shut the door. Step out, boom, shut the door. With the dress, however, you open the door, slide. Step 2, you swing and shut the door. To get out, open, swing, slide the door shut. Now, as a sociologist and with a psychology background, I'm interested in those things. I'm also interested in your reactions right now. There is some humor, there was some surprise. There's some faces going, oh, this is beginning to creep me out. That's natural. This is very typical. As we deal with the other person on the stage, when they begin to challenge how we think, it interferes with our sense of understanding. And this is my challenge to you today, to rethink what seems obvious. We think about our clothing, we think about our food, we think about where we're going to go. We rarely ever stop and think about what we're thinking. But we are thinking about ourselves and we're thinking about others all the time. One of the problems, evolutionary psychology tells us we have a natural tendency to view the other as bad. Whoever is different from us is not as good as us. We are comfortable with us. Remember the video we saw before about groups of similar taste. We are comfortable in a group of similar taste. Little children have boys against the girls, little kids against the big kids. We tend to group up with those we are comfortable with because when they are us, they are safe. We know them. They are natural, they are normal, but them is different. The group that is not like us is the exact opposite. We instinctively go to this understanding that they are somehow evil or dangerous. Evolutionary psychology would suggest that this protects the species, and it makes sense. If two cavemen see one another and one doesn't look the same, my question is, okay, Does this guy eat plants, animals, or maybe people? Is he going to come to my cave and kill my people? Maybe I should kill him first, save everybody a lot of time. It's amazing how many politicians still have that mode of thought. Trouble is, them thinks them is us, and us is them. So now, how do we come together in the 21st century, where as you look around the room, people of many different cultures are already sitting side by side, and this is only going to increase. We have this mental first step we have to get past. Our second.
Very cool, my friend. So tell. Yeah, it would appear to me that you were safe that day from the initial thought there.
Yeah, it's very lucky.
All right. So tell us, now that you've done it, if you were to do it again, is there anything you would do differently, my friend, in the name of continuous learning? What would be any kind of insights that you can share with others who are about to do their first TED Talk?
Yes, yeah, there are two things, and every time I see that, I would speak more slowly. As a Canadian, I tend to speak very quickly compared to people I meet from other areas of the world, and they're often saying, "Slow down. What was that? What was that?" And getting nervous only makes that worse. And so I'm so envious of people who just naturally speak slowly. For me, I have to really consciously work to slow down my words. But I would do that. I would practice that, and I would be much better at speaking slowly. I would also not laugh at my own jokes so much. I tend to do that, but I think as a speaker, it doesn't transmit, it doesn't translate, I think, that well across the stage. Maybe in your personal, informal company, perhaps, but when you're on stage, I think it is best to not laugh at your own jokes. Certainly not as much as I did.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that again, insights from having done it. And I hear it's a lot of preparation. Is that right?
Yes. You know, I walk into the classroom every day and often with, very little preparation, at least no preparation in how I'm going to speak, because I do it every day. But I was, excuse me, very lucky. We had some people from the home campus in Richmond, Virginia, who just happened to be in Qatar. And these two guys had done a lot of presentations. And so as soon as I found that, I said, listen, guys, can you come and help me? So they said, all right, tell us what you've got. And then they gave me pointers. Okay, change this, change this. TED Talks, there's not a big introduction. You either just, you stand there and start talking, you walk right out and start talking. But there's a tendency, you want to say, hello, everybody, how you doing? But the TED format is not like that. And so you have to fight that impulse.
Right.
And you want to say something that relates to people immediately if you can.
Yeah.
Then we talked about, say this here and say this here and move these paragraphs around and practice, because what I had learned very early in my career, even lecturing in the university, was what makes sense when you read it does not come across verbally as well. I mean, it's two different modes of communication. Speaking communication can sometimes be very, very different from what you read. So it makes perfectly good sense. It flows. It's interesting to the eye, but to the ear, it's not as good. And the mouth sometimes is okay. Just my mouth, these words in connection with one another don't flow smoothly. So I have to change the words now. And that's one of the benefits of rehearsal, which, I think more people would benefit from more rehearsal, me included.
Yeah, wonderful. That's awesome, because they only give you like less than 18 minutes kind of a thing, less than 18 minutes to really make an impact with one central idea. That's what TED is, format. And so it has to be really well scripted, and you can't go up there and wander around like you could in a classroom.
Right. Yeah. And in fact, that's another point. I think I would love to do more TED Talks. And I think in the future, I would really focus on, say, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, something more condensed. I think a shorter clip, there is more tendency to get viewed. So there's a better opportunity to get your message out there. I did this the opposite. I wanted to just squeeze every second I could out of that, thinking this is my opportunity.
It's a typical impulse.
Yeah, I mean, I find when I play clips myself in the classroom, I'm often looking for something that is, short and sweet. And so next time I would look for 5, 7, 10 minutes maximum.
Nice, nice. Tell us about some of these photos, my friend. So really kind of tell us the stories behind them. Tell us the sentiments behind them. So use them as a little bit of a backdrop to tell a lot of stories. So if you could do that, that'd be wonderful.
Okay, that's a tattoo I have on my. There's a camera here.
Let me just hold on. There you go. Oh, look at that! It matches.
Yeah. It says, what we define as real is real in its consequences. This is a paraphrase of what's called the Thomas theorem. It's a very famous quote in sociology. I learned this when I was a first-year student back in 1984. And it just struck me. My light bulb in my head went on. I thought, wow, that is it. And it's just stuck with me ever since. And I had never really wanted to get a tattoo. And then finally, just in recent years, I thought, yeah, maybe, why not? And this is the one I said, okay, if I'm going to get a tattoo, this is what I'm going to get.
Cool.
Now, as it turned out by circumstance, that was the third tattoo that I actually got, but that was the one that opened the door for me. And I like it. I have it on the inside of my arm because it's important to me. I can look at it, but this is also the core of basically all of the research that I do and how I understand the world. It is not so much what is happening out there, it's what's happening in here.
Right, right. Yeah.
You know, the example I often use to my students, you know, if you walk past two people in the hallway and just as you go by, they look at you and they burst out in laughter, you might think, oh, they're laughing at me. And you might be either hurt or angry or think, okay, I thought they were friends. Apparently they're not. But it could just as easily be they were maybe one was just telling the other one a joke and they were just getting the punchline. And just as you came by, you're in peripheral vision. So they look at you just as they're laughing at the joke. It's got nothing to do with you. So it's not the joke that's the problem. It's how you interpret it. And then what you think will then guide your emotions, your subsequent thoughts, and your subsequent actions. And I believe this to be a truism of life. And so I'm always curious in whatever I'm researching, whether it's art or education or some kind of interaction in the workplace, I'm always curious, okay, what are people perceiving? What are they believing? And then how are they responding emotionally, cognitively, and behaviorally?
Yeah. Very powerful concept that I think a lot of us forget from time to time, but that's not only consequences for ourselves, but consequences for others around us as well.
Sure. I mean, you see a lot of this with the whole the mask. I don't want to call it debate, but the mask debacle. Yeah. See that. You know, one person interprets a mask as, okay, this is very important to save my life or very important to save somebody else's. Someone else will interpret the exact same action as this is infringing on my freedom as an individual, as a citizen. Well, the mask doesn't change and neither does your mouth, but it's what you think about the mask, what that means to you that determines everything else. And likewise, what you think of seeing somebody else either with a mask or without.
You bet. Powerful stuff for sure. So there you are in your elements with, is it one of the graduates or?
No, that's a colleague. He was the head of our painting and printmaking department. And we're quite good friends. And this is at graduation ceremony. Every college, every university has different colors. So my robe is from the graduate studies in the University of Calgary. And he's from Wales. And so his was from a British university.
I see.
But he was soon leaving, and in fact, now he lives in Berlin. And he was soon, so we were just kind of hanging around as buddies, and we had been friends for many years.
Nice. Now, I'm just kidding, but somebody from Berlin, did you make a joke with him and say, does Berlin still take your breath away? Or no, anyway, let's not go there. There you are doing your thing.
Yep.
Tell us the story behind this, though. I think there's a story behind this. I'm feeling there's a story. What were you receiving or giving?
This was in January, and I had gone back to Calgary and to Saskatchewan in December, just this past December, because my mother turned 90. Normally, I fly back in the summertime, but I flew back to see my family and my mother and then my karate group. And this fellow on the right, the black belt on the right, I had started training with another organization in a different style of karate called Shotokan. The style that I practice is called the Shitoryu Genbukai. And he's a phenomenal martial artist and athlete. And he saw that my sparring gloves were white. And he said, "Oh, those are awesome. Can you get me some?" So when I went back and I was, seeing my sensei in Calgary in December, I mentioned I'd like to get some white gloves. So he said, "Here, I'm going to give these to you as a gift. You do whatever you want." So I then gave them to this other fella, Sensei Manu, as a gift. So it was a gift from one of my senseis to another of my senseis, and I was the conduit, and I felt very honored to do that.
Yeah. Well, I must say, this is the first time I have ever heard the term sensei in person and not on a movie that I'm watching. So sensei, just roll off the tongue really easily for you, because that's within your world there, my friend. And tell us, you have several black belts. So tell us about why and how you get around to multiple black belts. I don't know much about that. How does that work?
Well, you just, I had the 2 black belts that I have are both in the same style. It's what we call first degree, second degree, third degree, and so forth.
Okay. And how many degrees can you go up to? Is it unlimited or?
I believe different styles have different numbers.
Okay.
In our style, 9. After that, they're posthumous.
Nice.
And what happens is, in our style at least, I mean, I knew one guy who'd, jumped from first degree to second degree after 1 year. Because he taught. They said, "Okay, you're giving back to the community. That takes you up a rank." Yeah. In our style, it's about a 5-year minimum to become first degree black belt, and we look at each successive level as the training it takes to get a brand new black belt.
I see.
And some are 5 years, some are 7 years, and of course it depends on what you do. It took me 7 years to get my first degree, and just because of circumstances, longer than that to get the second degree. But
very nice.
So I hold a second degree, was a knee dan. And in our style, there's writing on the belt, your last name and also your country in Japanese.
Oh, really?
And it's in different colors. And every two belt levels, they change. So right now, mine are gold for first and second. If I was to get third degree, it would be red for third and fourth. And then fifth degree is white. And I love that white. I would love to have one of those. But, at my age now, I don't know if that's ever possible, but
there's your friend that you're spending COVID time with.
That's right. That's Bob. He's right here.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. Let me do the other way. There you go. There's Bob. There's 2 versions of Bob right there.
Yeah, Bob is my training partner, my roommate.
Cool. Where was this?
Me walking downtown in Doha.
It's like you color match that building glass green. That is just like you are just right in your there.
That's all these years of working in art and design college. It's starting to rub off on me now.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah, so walking down the sidewalk. I mean, the architecture here is amazing.
Yeah, that's very cool.
This was in February.
Palm trees of sorts. Certain. You said imported, is that right?
Yes, because Doha is right at the edge of desert to water. I was told there are no natural growth here. And so all of the palm trees, all of the shrubs, all of the grass are imported. And they're phenomenal. They grow, and the fertilizer they use here must be magical. It's really nice. And over the years, from 2008 to now, when I first got here, it was just beige. And sand, and you'd be driving down the road and suddenly there's no more road. So everybody drove an SUV because you needed to.
Right. Wow.
But now we have 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 lane traffic, and it's very modernized, and we see a lot more small cars and a lot more buildings. It's beautiful.
In other words, fairly fast urbanization in the last decade or so is what I'm hearing.
Oh yeah. It's Qatar as a nation and as a culture has had to jump so fast compared to the Western areas, and they, it's growth pains, of course, but overall they've done a magnificent.
Wonderful. Hey, Michelle, thank you for chiming in. Good to see you again, my friend. Michelle is one of the regular viewers who chimes in, and thank you for chiming in. She loves the color match comment. So there it is, and.
I had that done in Istanbul. Took 10 minutes.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. So are there a lot of, I'm trying to, I don't know Qatar well. How much ocean front do you have in that country, my friend? Is
Well,
it one side
right
or?
by what used to be called the Persian Gulf.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, yeah, basically all around Qatar, there's water. There's the Gulf area,
Oh, nice.
bay, and it's beautiful. So here's, I've been training in scuba diving, and this is me with the group out, as I'm, learning the various steps, and I've gone through a couple levels, and it's lovely. I mean, I haven't done enough to get rid of the fear. It still scares me to death. But so I get underwater, and like other guys, their air tank lasts forever because they're really calm, and I'm just practically hyperventilating because I'm terrified.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I enjoy it, and with time, you do 2-3 dives a day. Well, by the time you're on dive number 3, well, now you can relax, and it's really nice.
Yeah.
And this is my oldest son, Brody, who is doing a PhD at the University of Calgary and also teaches classes there.
Nice.
And he teaches summer classes, and so he invited me as a guest lecturer twice. So 2 summers I was able to go and speak about Qatar.
Nice.
In class, which was just incredible. It's really a highlight of my career professionally and personally, and certainly as his dad. I don't think it's very often you see, father and son able to do this. And in other jobs, other dads and sons do the same thing, but just this is me and my son. So it's a magical moment, absolutely powerful for me.
Wonderful. And tell us about the story of the diving story involving your son there, my friend. I think you have a story to share there.
I do. And in fact, somewhere in this group of photos, I've got pictures of my other 2 sons. But my middle son, Chris, is a commercial diver out in the west coast of Canada.
Yeah.
That's him right there. And he's at Campbell River.
Mm.
And, I had gone out to visit him one time, and so we're diving in it. I had just minimal training, but we're in shallow water. We're doing everything right, and I panicked.
Mm.
And so I just they what call a diver in distress. I mean, I did everything possibly that you can do wrong. I did it wrong.
Mm.
I rocketed to the surface. I threw my mask off in a panic. I'm trying to suck in air as fast as I can go, and I just felt, I'm not getting air, and I'm completely terrified. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to stay afloat at the same time. And he did everything right. He grabs me, he's pulling me, he's keeping my head up. He caught my mask out of the water. And this is something that the divers look for. Okay, if somebody comes up, if they take their mask off, that's a danger sign. Mm-hmm. He's pulling me from behind, and we were, it was shallow, so we were quite a ways away. And in order to get back to walking distance, sometimes he's pulling me, sometimes he's at my feet pushing me, and it took me quite a while to calm down and for my brain to get back into gear, because when you hit that raw panic, all rational thought stops. Mm-hmm. Thinking rationally, I would know, look, I'm breathing clear air, no problem. But it's like the tattoo says, right? What you define as real, I defined. I couldn't get oxygen. I was dying. So even though I'm breathing all the oxygen available to me, in my head, I'm dying and I'm panicking, and I've got the emotions, I've got the thoughts, I've got the activities based on that perception.
In other words, the wrong perception. With the wrong perception, you were actually killing yourself there a little bit.
Totally.
Yeah.
And he got me back to dry land, and we calmed down, and we did eventually get out for another dive. It was, this time we really stayed at like 3 feet of water, and it was lovely. I was so embarrassed that, okay, as the dad, I completely blew it. And I was so, oh my God, what kind of a father figure am I? Mm-hmm. At the same time, I was so incredibly proud of him because he literally saved my life. But not just that, he knew, he was calm, he was professional, he knew what he was doing. And of course, he saved my life. Yeah. So it was this juxtaposition, these 2 very paradoxical feelings, complete embarrassment and also thorough pride.
That is a great life moment there, my friend. When both of those can coexist in the same moment, that is what life's about, isn't it? Yeah. Now, I want to go back to a few photos that make sure that we don't miss it here. So thanks for talking about this photo. And then tell us about this one here. Was that your arm there, my friend?
Yeah, that's me getting this photo.
Let me just get that on there. There it is.
Yeah.
Cool. And tell us more about that. What's behind that?
It's a Buddhist temple just outside Kathmandu, Nepal.
Mm-hmm.
I have friends in Kathmandu, and as a kid growing up in Saskatchewan, I would read about Kathmandu and think, oh man, that is just so magical. And I'm so thankful I've been able to go there and visit. And I was there with some friends, and I said, oh, I have got to get a tattoo. And actually, my buddy and I were going to get the same one, and then it ended up just being me.
Yeah.
But it was a tremendous experience and a beautiful tattoo. And I thought, so this was the first one I got. After I decided to get the other one, it just circumstance. I was in Kathmandu, and we were walking by, and there were artists here who are very well recognized at this particular tattoo shop. I said, okay, I'm here, let's do it. So we did. I'm very happy with it.
Very cool. Now, I want to show a video clip of, I think, one of your documentary, and it's titled Living in the Above. Could you tell us a bit about that while I bring it in here, my friend, for our viewers?
Say a colleague from VCU had been going to Rio de Janeiro, and he somehow came in contact with this really funky hotel in a favela, which a favela is the shanty town. And they're very high up in the mountains. It basically, the poor people are pushed up the mountain so the middle class and upper class can live down below. And he'd been going there, and this hotel, it's closed now, unfortunately, but it's amazing. There've been numerous music videos and television shows and movies shot there, and Edward Norton stayed there when they filmed The Hulk, and Sylvester Stallone stayed there, and so forth. And so he says, listen, you got to come to this place, and let's do some research while we're there. Let's study life. And we kind of read about it, and he talked about it. And a lot of what you see about favelas is always about crime and violence and death and misery and drugs. And we wanted to do the opposite. We wanted to show, how are people thriving? What is the upside of life in a favela? How is a community established and maintained, and how do people get along? And when we got there, we certainly found people were wonderful. They welcomed us with open arms. They treated us like we lived there. There was no crime. Now, mind you, this particular favela was unique in that they had brought in what's called the BAPE, the military police, and they had cleaned out all crime. So it was crime-free. Now, you'd be having coffee or a drink, and you'd see the police in their black fatigues and their machine guns running up into the alleyways and helicoptering down. It was really something to see. And their insignia was, if I remember correctly, was like skull and crossbones, and there was a big knife stuck in the top of the skull and lightning bolts. And these are hardcore guys. He just came and told the criminals, look, you're leaving in 24 hours, body bag or on your feet, up to you, but you're out of here. So it was crime free, and it was a wonderful experience. We did this over a total of 5 or 6 years in the summer months.
Wonderful. Let me know if you can hear the sound. I'm going to hit play here, my friend.
Rio de Janeiro, acho que é lugar que contempla paisagens lindas, e Rio de Janeiro significa favela, significa samba, significa funk, significa lapa, significa... Enfim, é tudo lindo aqui. E eu acho que quem quiser vir para o Rio de Janeiro tem que conhecer um pouquinho de cada coisa e não ter medo de conhecer uma favela, que tem favelas aqui que vocês podem conhecer. Até para vocês verem que não é muito disso que você vê na televisão, que é a violência. Você vai ver o lado bom da favela.
Tavares Bastos is a small favela in the Qatar neighborhood of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Favelas in Brazil carry interesting complexities and contradictions in both an architectural and social sense. Tavares Bastos is no exception. Favelas have a reputation for crime and violence, but a visitor to Tavares Bastos can quickly sense that there is something quite amazing and remarkable going on in the small and winding alleyways of this favela. The sensation is not far from that of walking in a small medieval Mediterranean hill city.
Nothing stays the same. The favela doesn't stay the same. When I came here, there were 400 people living here in a few wooden shacks. Nothing brick built.
The typical favela is economically disenfranchised and characterized by high crime rates and unemployment. People living in these communities have limited economic, political, and social power. However, as we look at the physical layout of the favela and social interactions within the favela, we also see how engagement in this neighborhood is perhaps stronger than in other areas of Rio. The physical construct of Taveras Bastos generates a very concentrated and unique social situation.
Most of the favelas have a history of their own. They were created, they were built by different people coming from different places. For instance, this favela was built by immigrants from the northeast that came here in the 50s.
So tell us, my friend, I think you are quite deeply involved in this particular production, not only doing all the narration and all that, but also quite deeply involved in sort of the evolution of it and designed co-develop it. Is that tell us a bit more about that?
Oh yeah, I mean, this is the first time that we had ever done this, my colleagues and I. So it was Johan Granberg and myself were kind of the two main characters, and every year we'd go back, it seemed like a different team would be helping us. But we had never done this before. We were completely flying by the seats of our pants. But we just thought it was such a unique and wonderful story. Mm-hmm. And so, we were each, personally, we were, filming. Sometimes he would hold the camera, sometimes I would. Sometimes he's holding the microphone, sometimes I am. We're writing a script. I did some editing with a former student, and he did some editing. And we learned that if you use music that is old enough, you don't have to pay copyright. We wanted to use more modern music until we heard about the copyright. So then we just used all, brand new music that was written by, Bob Knight Carney, the guy playing the horn, or Nicola and Johan playing guitar. And so there was some music written specifically for this documentary that was put in. It was a very interesting.
Nice. And tell us, how long was the project from the time you kind of maybe started work on it to the time it was made available to the public? I presume on YouTube and many other places and whatnot. Tell us, how many years did that take?
About 8 years in total.
Wow.
Which, for a variety of reasons. I mean, we, of course, never dreamt it would take us that long. It was over, as I say, successive summers, which itself takes a long time. But then there's, you get back and you get busy with something else. And, both Johan and I end up at this other project. We're traveling all over the world looking at artist communities. And so this gets put on the back burner. And so it was a good 8 years before this was finished and on the screen. Yeah. And just like the TED Talk, when I watch this now, I realize, okay, this is my first narration. So I was, in my head, I'm thinking, Dan Rather, I've got to be. So I'm trying very hard to be just like this and just sounding stiff. Yeah. And also speaking too quickly. Uh-huh. I found I really enjoyed the narration work, and I would like to do more. And I've done some more with Johan, and I certainly plan to do more in the future. But I'm learning as I go. I'm learning to slow down, and also just to simply be more relaxed, allow for more inflection, and just be more human about it.
Mm. Yeah, got it. Well, wonderful. Well, as we all are, learning every day and whatnot, and I think you and I, having that background of teaching at universities and whatnot, very much. I don't know about you, but I see learning as part of my profession. I'm a bit of a professional learner, because if the moment I stop learning, that's probably when I will have difficulty finding the next career path or whatever have you. So I see learning as part of the career and part of life, right?
Well, for sure. And in fact, this is, when I moved back to Calgary, to Canada in 2015 to Calgary and joined the speakers program, my intention was to take all of my years of experience speaking in the classroom and speaking at conferences, that experience coupled with my content knowledge, and become a professional speaker. And I got wonderful training with the CAPS program in Calgary and made great friends like you. Mm-hmm. And then just, it turned up that I came back to Doha, but I still continued to try and learn and evolve. And now, the Bamboo movie, I've applied more what I've learned about narration. And now I'm planning on doing a documentary myself again. And each step, you take it a bit higher. Mm-hmm. And just like the karate, you just keep on going, you keep learning, keep evolving. Yeah. I often think that when I retire, I would like to do narration as a source of secondary income, as just fun to do. Cool. Not awesome. The kind of porch.
I like the vibrant color and different things happening there with the scenes. Our friend Michelle, being a fellow musician of mine here, Michelle jokes and she says, she says, you know that scene with the guitar player? She enjoyed that scene. So you can tell him if you happen to run into that gentleman there in the next little while. Tell him somebody really enjoyed the guitar playing as well. Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that. And again, for folks that are watching, this is a documentary called "Living in the Above," and one of Byrads and partners, really major project that took 8 years to fruition. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome. And notice the beautiful, beautiful views of the bay there.
Yeah.
So you could have more money and live lower and end up with a worse view. If you have less money and live higher than a villa, it's a view to die for. It's funny.
View. I'm curious how they came up with that arrangement, because I would think, without knowing the details, that higher up would be more desirable. No?
Well, now what we see are the middle class are in fact moving up. Yeah. But what it came down to is just, because of the access to the water, access to
I hear you.
Electricity and for products through the shipping lanes. It's okay. Anybody with money is going to live here. If you don't have money, get out. And they
kind of convenient factors rather than perhaps the view, focusing on the view. People might say, well, higher up would be a more clear view, but yeah, cool. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to bring back the photos and have you maybe tell stories about some more photos as well, my friend. And I'm glad that your COVID has continued to be at bay enough that you can continue this conversation. Let's continue some more. I want to hear a lot more from you, my friend. So technology has been pretty good to us here, and I can see your sound coming through. So that's good. And I'm sure Michelle will tell us if we have sound trouble out there. So let me bring that in here again. Remember that those photos that we were looking at? Let's take a look at it again. And this time we're going to continue here. Tell us about this this scene here.
This is this man in the chair is a living legend. His name is Fumio Demura. And he has been literally a living legend. There are very few people like him in the world. He did all of the stunt work for all the Karate Kid movies. Wow. He was the one who taught Bruce Lee how to use the nunchaku, because at that time nobody used weapons except for Sensei Demura. Sensei Demura came over in the 60s. And I think there was a scene in Crocodile Dundee that literally came out of Sensei Demura's life history. He was brought over by Sensei Dan Ivan, who took him to one of the Disneyland in California. And all Sensei Demura knew was stories you hear about the West of there's so much violence and guns and everything else. Well, then they go to Disneyland, they're on this train, and these pretend robbers come in. And so he knocks these guys out, takes their guns away, and then Dan Ivan says, no, let's get out of here before the cops come. Because Sensei Demura thought, okay, this is the real violent America. Since that time, there is a wonderful, wonderful documentary on Netflix called The Real Miyagi.
Oh, wow.
Because he was, of course, Sensei Miyagi. And it's a very, very powerful and won multi-awards around the world. And it's the life story of Sensei Demura. And so we were in Spain for his 80th birthday, and he was giving a seminar, and I brought him a gift, an Omani knife from the area here, and I had just presented it to him. And then later there was a dinner, and I was there to represent both Qatar and Canada. So I was very, very proud, and it was a wonderful occasion. And then that was a year ago in the fall, and then he came back again, he came back to Doha in January. It was his second time in Doha. And so, stayed in my apartment with the head of karate from Japan and trained with my students here.
Nice. So if I can, again, underscore it, you spend quite a bit of time in this karate world, whether it's learning it, practicing it, achieving various black belts and whatnot, but also teaching it for free. I might add again, teaching it for free, and also engaging in what I would call the higher echelon of that world. You are able to experience and connect with people of that caliber. As you say, living legend.
There's a poster above my head on my wall. There's a bit of a light shining there, but it's the real Miyagi.
Oh, wow.
It's on. I was very lucky to be a one of the assistant or associate, I forget, producers for the movie. And then the same team has one now about Pat Morita. And again, I was very lucky to be associate producer of that one. But just, the karate has been so wonderful. I've got friends on Facebook, quite frankly, that I have never met in person or just met in passing. But through karate, we've known each other. And that other day when I was kind of down in the dumps about the COVID, and they're saying, it's okay, Byrad, you got this, and it's so wonderful to have these tremendous friends. And I desperately want to get back to California and see these people. But I've got friends now. I've been training online with groups in Spain, in the UK, and sometimes there are people in California who join us also. So you have this whole international.
All right, I'm just going to share it again here. Looks like we have a bit of a glitch just for a second there, or for a few seconds. And we're going to go ahead and play it again here for you. Let's go ahead and play it. And hey, Byrad, I see you are back, which is a good thing. So let me just go ahead and bring you back in here, my friend. Give me a second. So now I don't see your video. Your video is not there yet, my friend. So maybe if you can come back in, maybe close your browser and come back in, my friend. That would be maybe helpful. And so I'm just going to hit play here, and we'll enjoy this here.
Of building with bamboo, very often there's a great pressure from society for whatever reason to replace bamboo with steel or replace it with wood or go into concrete or brick housing instead.
竹子这个材料其实它不是一个当代材料，从严格意义上讲，它是属于大自然，然后是一个历史中长期存在的一个植物，所以能把竹子用在当代，成为一种当代的语言，用到空间里面去，是我们对竹子的理解。
this material is really amazing. The possibility of doing things that other materials can do, the bamboo can do it.
Soon a bamboo tree grew up, and from the hollow of one of its branches, a man and a woman came out. The man's name was Sikalak, and the woman was called Sikabe. They were the parents of the human race. Philippine creation myth.
Bamboo is a grass with over 1,250 known species, found in a wide array of biotopes ranging from cold mountains to hot tropical regions. Bamboo can vary in sizes. Some are very tiny, just a few centimeters in height, while others are enormous at over 30 meters tall. The Guinness World Book of Records lists bamboo as the fastest growing plant on the planet, with a growth rate of 90 centimeters within a 24-hour period. That is an impressive speed of almost 5 centimeters an hour.
The bamboo you see here is roughly planted 2.5 years ago. It's around 15 meters now. It will grow to about 25-30 meters.
Bamboo is an exceptional construction material. If used correctly, bamboo equals the tensile strength of steel and the compressive strength of brick and concrete.
Nice thing about doing these documentaries is you learn a lot about a lot of cool stuff.
Now, why would we, except perhaps to keep traditional construction?
That's awesome, my friend. Tell us, really 5 centimeters an hour? Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Wow. You know, growing up in Vietnam, I'm no stranger to bamboo. We made a lot of things with it back then in the 60s, you can imagine. But, you know, bamboo for construction in sort of grand, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who've made, you know, bicycles, motorcycles, you know, buildings, of course. You know, when I was in Thailand, you know, eat it, bamboo soup. You know, I mean, it's a...
Oh, yes, I love bamboo soup. Bamboo soup, yes. Now, us fellow, North American over here who have not experienced that, we're scratching their head. What do you mean? How can you eat bamboo? But I guess, yeah, you can.
Yeah. You probably couldn't notice, let me rephrase that. I don't know whether you noticed or not, but I was making an attempt to slow down as I was in this documentary. My overall pace of wording is much slower than the first movie.
Yeah.
And, you know, I work at an art and design college, and they always say about design, if design is done well, it's invisible. You don't notice it.
Right.
The only time you notice the design of something, whether it's, you know, how a chair is constructed or a doorway or a highway or whatever, is when there's a problem.
Yeah.
And so the best design is always invisible. And likewise, I think, you know, that's the goal of narration. It's when you're listening to somebody and they're going too fast, they're not pronouncing clearly, it catches you and you think, okay, I didn't like that. Whereas if it's just simply clear, you don't notice it at all. And that's the whole point. That's what I'm learning, and that's what I'm practicing now. As I say, at this stage in my life, I'm really working to do more and more narration. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm enjoying learning how to do it better.
Yeah, wonderful. A friend, Michelle, chimed in again with that little technology blipped earlier for a few seconds there. She says, glad to have you back there, Byrad.
Yeah, and as she said, it's, you know, when it's working, and obviously you're very skilled. I apologize. Probably my COVID infection. Technology.
You have a virus that cross-platform all the way from human onto the computer internet.
That's right.
Sort of
That's right. Well, they told me I'm still infectious. That's why I'm, you know, sitting here in lockdown.
That's a wild virus, my friend. That's a wild virus. So, yes. So again, for the viewers who might have just tuned in or might have just tuned in later at this point, our friend here, Dr. Byrad, definitely has a what is it, 5 weeks now of COVID, fighting with it, and certainly doing well, but had your up and down with it, and glad you are well enough today to be talking to me, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've got, it'll be 6 weeks, and then I have to, well, the doctors say they want me to phone back and let them know what happens this week, and I'm curious myself, because it seemed like every day something new. You know, the other day, about 2 days ago, I forget if I mentioned, but, you know, suddenly my eyes are red and burning. I think, oh, is this COVID? I don't know. And like I say, waking up today with fatigue. So tomorrow, will I feel great or feel worse? I just have no idea. But I will keep in contact with the physician. Then we see, is it going to be 2 more weeks, 3 more weeks, another month? Anybody's guess.
Yeah, I'm curious now, how long this bamboo, how long of a project was this? Was this any shorter or longer than the 8 years of the other documentary that you worked on?
Kind of a combination. This is Johan's project. I helped a little bit with you know, script development, and then of course with the narration. But really, this is his research, not mine.
Yeah.
He's been researching bamboo basically his entire academic career. He's from Sweden initially, but he had spent 2 years deep in the jungles of Papua New Guinea, and that, you know, he's really working with bamboo there, and he still does a lot of work with bamboo now. So, you know, there are facets of this coming from way back in his early days, and then of course there are brand new interviews. So it's a very expansive project.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I wanted to maybe look at some more photos and have you tell more stories about those, my friend. So I'm going to just bring back this photo here that we had from before. And so give me a second to do that. So when we look at this, bring it back in here. There it is. And how soon? When was this? Is this before you caught COVID or after you caught COVID?
It's just, you know, when there was the, you know, the lockdown. I guess it's after I was sick in March, but by that time everybody's being quarantined now, and I was, you know, nobody's going to campus anymore. We're teaching online from our homes, and I was just bored one day, and I went to bed. I was, you know, laying there reading. I thought, I'm going to get up tomorrow and do a fashion show just for the heck of it. So I did. I took some photographs. I had this new mask on. I took some photographs of myself with my tuxedo and some photographs of myself in a suit. And I just for fun, I just kind of, you know, sent them out here, you know, who's doing what while we're in lockdown. So
tell us a little bit about, so again, you're teaching at university and whatnot. How was the sort of transition to online teaching? How did that go from your sort of perspective?
Oh, it was overnight.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
You know, the Qatari government said, okay, here's the deal. Nobody's going to school anymore. And,
wow.
You know, so Dean said, okay, we're gonna just shut things down for a day or two, kind of regroup. And so classes were canceled. And actually I was still sick then. So we had our spring break. I got sick during spring break, and I was still sick afterward. Excuse me. But the nice thing about teaching from home is I could do that. So they said, okay, we're going to teach from home, and you're going to use Zoom. And Zoom allows for, you know, small group work for the students and, you know, interaction. Now, one of the things we find here, there's a strong anxiety, especially for the female students. And at our university, we are predominantly female students. There is a very strong anxiety about being on camera. And so what happens is a lot of people have pictures, you know, like this, or just a black screen with their name or something.
Right.
And so that can be a bit disconcerting when you're trying to teach a class and you don't see anybody looking back at you. There's always a couple of students who will show their faces, and this is something we're still working with, is how can we get past these cultural prescriptions at the same time as, you know, respect people's ideas and concerns, but still maintain a teaching process. And so we just kind of jumped into this right away, and, you know, so now we're teaching verbally, just like you and I are doing. And it's got its advantages and its disadvantages, but it was an immediate change. Then we said, okay, everybody's under stress, so we're going to kind of pull back and maybe not put quite as much pressure on the students, give them more time for their assignments, modify the structure of the assignments, because look, this is new to everybody, including the students, and they've got family commitments. They can't necessarily sit around like me all day.
Yeah.
So we have to bear that in mind as we're, revising our teaching system.
You bet.
And then after spring semester, this happened in mid-semester, and then I taught a summer class, which was also online, of course, and my classes in the fall are most likely going to be online also.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. We have a similar experience here in Canada, in Alberta, where again the post-secondary schools were shut down fairly abruptly and fairly kind of continuously since then. And so the transition over, well, thankfully it's sort of at the somewhat of a tail end of the typical university year. So the timing was a little bit more maybe a little bit less stressful than if it was, let's say, October or November, in the middle of the semester, right? But our friend Michelle, I'm going to reach out to you, Michelle. I'm going to ask here, Michelle, does our friend here, Dr. Byrad Yyelland, look a little bit like a James Bond of sort there, my friend? Tell me, James Bond, yes or no? Thumbs up or thumb down, Michelle? You're having fun as one of the banquets. Is that university related, my friend?
No, this was on a cruise ship.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
After I came back in 2017, I took myself on a cruise. And this is my first cruise. I had been married before and then got divorced. And so this was my first cruise as a single.
Oh, wow.
And there's dress up night. So I had my tuxedo and they take pictures and I, what the heck? I mean, it's actually, I wasn't sure what to expect, going on by myself. But it was fun. I liked it. And I love cruise ships, man.
Oh, yeah?
I pulled off there.
I have never been a cruise ship. I've been on boats, but that's a very different story. I can honestly say that I'm one of the few. I can honestly say I've been involved in 2 ships sinking. One in the South China Sea, and one in what we call Cross Lake, Alberta. In one of those, I was the captain.
Yeah, I'm not voting with you. I've only been on 4 cruises. 2 with my ex-wife and 2 as a single.
Mm-hmm.
But I love them. I would go on one tomorrow if I could. In fact, I had cruises booked this summer, but one by one, I get canceled. I get another one, and canceled. I get another one, and they're all canceled now.
Yes, of course. Here we go.
Yeah, this is the poster for this. The long story short, the story of Pat Morita.
Yeah, I can't believe that you are co-producer, assistant producer, whatever the title were, for something as big as the Real Miyagi, or tell us more. What was the title of that movie again?
The Real Miyagi. Yeah,
that's okay. I thought it. I want to make sure I got it right. So that's
amazing.
Yeah, I mean that is awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, you just never know where life is going to take you. I mean, I got into this through karate, and I got to have this living legend and really wonderful human being, Sensei Demura. We become close friends. We chat all the time. He stayed at my home a couple times, and I brought him to my school. He would teach my students a Japanese calligraphy called shodo and origami, and of course karate, and you just never know who you're going to meet through what. And then through the university here, I've had these other opportunities to travel and I just I'm lucky. I'm incredibly lucky.
Yeah, here's Michelle responded to my question. I asked if this is James Bond material. She says, "Hell yeah! What will the next Bond movie be called? We have our actor," she says.
Thank you, Michelle.
And you can kick butt if necessary.
I can do some of the stunts.
Yeah, there you go.
Sure, I'm getting older.
Yeah. Or call on some of your friends there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for chiming in again, Michelle. We're having fun here. Let me just cruise on here. You told the story about your son here. What's his name again?
Chris.
Chris. Wonderful. I should remember because that's my wife's name is Christina or Chris. So
Christopher. Out in Campbell River.
Yeah. Oh wow. There you are with the gentleman again, Sensei.
That's right. This is at our campus in Doha. This Sensei Demura and Sensei Ken Nishiki, who is the head of our style of karate for all of Japan. And he is just phenomenal, amazing.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful.
And he's in the documentary also.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a nice shot of Doha. It's
Okay,
a beautiful city.
Very reminiscent of, maybe a Singapore or a Dubai kind of feel, right?
Because during the lockdown, I bought myself a TRX because we couldn't go to the gym anymore. I just thought, again, I just trying to have some fun and put some stuff on Facebook. So I set up my camera and took a few shots of myself like this, just for a laugh.
Well, you did that whole series called the So-and-So Challenge. Tell us about that. The challenge where you did the push-up and all of that. And I saw some of those videos there, my friend. Tell us about backstory about that. Yeah.
The trainer in the gym is a wonderful guy named Rio, and he's from the Philippines. And so he was telling me, he says, listen, there's this challenge in the Philippines, 19 push-ups a day for 19 days. He says, you want to do it? I said, sure. So I just started doing it. And I thought, well, it's boring. So, who wants to see me do 19 push-ups? So then I would put on some music. And then what I learned was when I put that on Facebook, sometimes the music would play, sometimes it didn't. So I guess there's copyright. Again, never crossed my mind. And I started doing sometimes my push-ups. It'd be like, before or after I was working on a karate. So I got my karate gi on, sometimes my exercise clothes on. Well, I'm going to step this up a bit. So I did push-ups in a suit. I did push-ups in my tuxedo. I did push-ups in a, kind of summer clothes, just something to make it different and fun.
Nice.
I got some shoulder problems right now. So unfortunately, I'm not doing any push-ups at all, but I'll get back to it.
Yeah.
That last picture, that's in Myanmar. Traveled there with a friend to just experience it all. And we're feeding the monks breakfast in the morning. So you get these plastic bags. They come into town to get food every day. And so tourists and the local people, you buy this food and then you can feed it to the monks. It's really wonderful.
Nice. I want to maybe get another video that I can show here, but I'm having challenge with getting the link because it seems like you got. But tell us about this other thing here. We'll continue with the photos here. That's your buddy there. You were taking his temperature. Is he doing that this time around with COVID?
That's right. I'm taking Bob's temperature because you got to be sure. I said, since I'm here in quarantine, I got to check with Bob.
Yeah. Very cool. So I'm just going to quickly check into the thing here, my friend, and make sure that we are good to share another video. Tell us about this photo here.
This is the group of us in Spain for the Sensei Demara's 80th birthday and for the seminar. And you'll see to his left, the man in the blue shirt, is Basilio. He's the head of karate for Greece. To Sensei Demara's right is Xavi. He's the head of art style karate for Spain. Then there's me, and then there's all the way around the table. There's many different countries. So it's you join karate for exercise, and before you know it, you're hanging around with wonderful people all over the world.
Nice. Now, tell me that there's another video that it's. Oh, that is the one we already shown. In fact, the QFT27. That is the one with the file that you sent. All right. So let me continue with the photo then. I was kind of hunting for that video, but it turns out it was actually one that I've already showed. So we're all good. So tell us, my friend, as you are fighting with COVID here for the 5th week, and again, roller coaster, there were times where you were clearly getting better, and then it sort of relapsed again within a continuous thing. You have not finished this, what turns out to be a 5-week quarantine. Any insights or any sort of things that you want to share with viewers who may be thinking, okay, any lessons learned, any insights?
Well, a couple, I suppose. I see on Facebook, people say, well, I've had it for 50 days or 60 or 70 or whatever. So I don't know how long I'm going to have it. What I do know is, we tend to think in terms of, okay, 2 weeks and you're out. That has not been my experience. Maybe, hopefully for others, but that has not been mine. I still got it. It seems to be, one day the symptoms go away, next day they come back. What will happen in the future, I have no idea. And I'm a relatively healthy guy. Now I am in my 60s. I'm 63, so perhaps that's a factor. I don't know. And I think the problem is there's just so much we don't know. You know, where people stand on the mask issue, that's up to you. People ask me all the time, you know, where did I get it? I don't know. What I do know is, you know, I went to some restaurants with friends, but I'm the only one in the group that got it. So did I get it at the restaurant? Did I get it in the hallway of my building? Did I get it? I have no idea.
Wow.
You know, you get a cold. You know, we said, where'd you get the cold? Well, I don't know. I just got the germ somehow.
And if I remember correctly, it came on really quickly. Like one day you were like, oh, maybe I'm not feeling right. And the next day you said you were hit, it's like being hit by a truck, you said.
Totally. And it was just completely incapacitating for about 10 days. And then gradually kind of came out of it. Really hoping that doesn't go back that way.
Wow.
But it's just, you know, it's serious. And this is why I put on Facebook right away, because I wanted people to see, look, you know, we hear about this in the news, on TV, and people have all these various theories. All I can tell you is I'm living it right now. And so I can tell from personal experience, here's what's happening to me.
Yeah. I'm just curious now, in Qatar where you are, how has the response to COVID has been publicly and generally? What I mean by that is we know some countries went very aggressive lockdown. Some countries don't do as aggressive. Where did Qatar kind of land on that spectrum, roughly speaking, from your estimation?
Very aggressive. They were very proactive. And they made it a law. Look, you don't wear a mask, you're going to jail, or you're getting like a serious fine. So, I mean, they made it a big deal immediately. Then they said, well, okay, things are calming down. If you're exercising, you don't need the mask, and, you know, keep social distance and so forth. But, you know, you don't get in a mall at all. Unless we have a phone app that, you know, has to show green, and they take your temperature and, you know, all these things. So they're taking it very, very seriously. You want to go buy groceries, you've got to have a mask and gloves, and you stand so far apart and so forth. So there's no discussion about, look, I don't want to wear a mask. Okay, fine, you're not getting in. You know, your call.
And you said immediately, so I'm guessing that's way back in March and April they started that already.
Yeah. And a lot of testing, but even with that, we also have a lot of COVID.
Oh, really?
And I think there are other factors involved. There are, you know, work camps where people live very closely together, and different cultures where people have, you know, multiple families in one environment, and so forth. You know, it's not like the West. And so I think there are many factors involved, but just the reality is I don't honestly know if we're worse here anywhere else, because, you know, what one country says our rates are and what they aren't, you know, a lot of factors in that too. But
so imagine if they didn't move swiftly, because if all the other factors sort of causing it to be fairly high, imagine if they didn't move swiftly on it, hey?
Oh, sure. You know, I shudder to think, and forgive me if I said this earlier, I don't remember, but I often, you know, I shudder to think if I had not gone and gotten tested, if I just told myself, okay, it's a flu, forget about it, and I'm going to the mall and I'm going to restaurants, I mean, how many people would I have infected because I was very, very infectious? And then even the second test, you know, if I had just said, okay, well, I did my 3 weeks, away I go, and again, restaurants and malls and what have you, how many more people would I infect? So I you know, it makes me wonder how many people are out there right now, very, very infectious, but they either disregard it or honestly don't know.
I
encourage everybody to be very, very careful. I will certainly be very, very careful when I finally do get out of here and I'm testing negative. I tell you, I am in no rush to be out at restaurants and whatnot. I will be very, very cautious. You know, I'll be social distancing like a madman.
In other words, the reality of it has just cranked up for you, and you're not about to say, I'm somehow immune from it now that I've made it through, or anything like that, is what I'm hearing.
Well, you know, it's nothing like accidentally putting your finger on the burner to realize, okay, I'm never doing that again. Same thing for me. You know, you can believe or disbelieve whatever you want. What I know is I'm not getting close to anybody for a long, long time, because I just don't want to go through that again. It was horrible. And really, as I said, even as horrible as it was, I still know I'm very, very lucky compared to many other people. And I can't imagine how bad it must be for some of those other people. Like, my heart really goes out to them.
Yeah, well, wonderful. Now, tell us, my friend, when I reach out to you and say, "Hey, you want to chat for a bit?" Was there an aspect or an area that you wanted to cover that we haven't gone to yet, my friend? We talked about a lot of different things here, and any stories or areas that you want to move to, my friend?
Well, I wanted to talk about COVID.
Yeah.
And some of the other experiences. I mean, there's many other research projects I could talk about. The other one where, Reese, the tall guy that we have our robes on, and then Johan, the guy that I did the documentaries with. The three of us went to, I think it was 25 or 27 countries in total. Sometimes we're three together, sometimes one of us, sometimes two of us.
Yeah.
It was an amazing project, and I'm finishing the book on that now. Just one of the wonderful opportunities to get access to by being here. And then there's, of course, I've got a third son. I got a picture of him somewhere in the group there, and I've got my other family in Canada. So I don't know. I can't really think of anything else that I'd want to touch on that we haven't.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, then let me kind of pull this up here, and we're going to together put a bow tie on this conversation, my friend, and we'll start to wrap it up here. I'm just going to share this thing here again, and go ahead and bring it in. And what I'm going to do is, I think I am second in this chain. Let me just confirm that's the case. So that's fine. That's good. So what I like to do is to summarize a little bit. You have quite a diverse background, whether it's academic, being a PhD and all of that stuff, Dr. Byrad Yyelland, and so that whole sort of academic side and studies and on that, a whole university teaching side and whatnot, but also this whole, whether it's karate at all levels and really affiliate with a lot of top-notch people in that field. And then there's the whole documentary side of things and whatnot. Tell us briefly about the professional speaking. You spent a bit of time with that. What were your insights into that? Do you have any kind of thoughts to share in that journey that you took? Obviously, speaking at TEDx was a wonderful experience, but what did you glean from that period where you spent a bit of time with the professional speaking side of things?
Okay, a couple of things. First of all, thank you, Michelle. I appreciate you thinking about me and COVID. In terms of the speaking, what comes to my mind right off the bat is, in my experience, whether it's in business or the martial arts or academia or speaking or whatever, in my experience, the people at the very, very top are the nicest people ever.
Nice.
Because they are at the top because they are passionate, and there are no ego issues. When I've met people that I thought, okay, this person is really not so nice, or kind of a jerk or whatever, those are typically people about mid-level, but in their heads, they like to think they're up here, or they're trying to get up there, and they're jealous. But it's all ego, and they will hold their secrets in tight. The people at the very, very top are open. Sensei Demra, he's not one of these, mysterious guys who's going to keep his secrets until his grave. He will tell you everything. He wants to tell you everything. And the people I've met in business, in academia, in CAPS, same thing. The people at the very, very top are sharing the information just as fast as they can because they love what they do and they want to help you. And as I say, my observation has been, if I meet somebody and they've got an ego, I know I'm not talking the best. When I get the best, they are just going to be completely nice and share like crazy. That's when it's really wonderful. And certainly the people I've met in the speaking community were like that. They're wonderful, wonderful people, and just shared, insights after insights after insights. And in Calgary, the group I met in Calgary, including you, I've learned things such as, how to advertise yourself, how to promote yourself, topics to come up with, how to open a talk, how to close a talk. Speed that I've already mentioned a couple of times. I struggle with that. I get excited. Not to laugh at our own jokes. Just these parts of being professional. And I've appreciated that a lot. And I still think sometimes that I'm very lucky that I get to do a lot of speaking as an academic at conferences and such, as well as, of course, every day in the classroom. But I still sometimes think, okay, maybe as I move out of academia and into the next phase of my life, I'm still considering professional speaking as one option because I enjoy it.
And here's one of our fellow professional speakers, Mr. Palmo Carpino from Calgary, of course. He enjoyed your observation about top performers. And here's a man who is awesome with stages and with humor and always add fun to the mix, Mr. Palmo Carpino.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm just curious, do you remember how you and I met, roughly speaking? I was obviously at CAPS, but do you remember the circumstance around it, my friend?
No.
No worries. I'm sure it was probably in a hallway as we were just finishing one session to the next, but it was definitely at a CAPS convention. And if I remember correctly, it might have been the Edmonton CAPS convention one year. But yeah.
That one time, yes.
Yeah, I think it was the Edmonton CAPS convention. But thank you so much for sharing your stories and your insights with us. And the fact that you get on here on a sort of again, in the middle of fighting COVID is I'm honored to have you make the effort. And I'm so thankful that you are on the mend, even though it's uncertain how long it's going to take to be completely, fully recovered.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate this. It's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed this. I hope we can do this again sometime. I'll try and get new stories and new photos.
You bet. Just let me know when, during COVID here, I'm doing it every weekday. And at some point, I might go scale back in terms of the frequency. But I don't see me stopping this anytime soon. But scaling back frequency and rescheduling if I need to for, other engagements that I have work-wise and whatnot. But definitely, check back if you want to come back and talk about some other topics. Sit down and talk nothing but diving. We can do that. Sit down and talking about, academia. We can do that. Sit down and, we can deep dive if you wanted to.
That's right. Yeah, I was very flattered about a week or two ago. I was invited to give a presentation to the U.S. Embassy here, to the American ambassador and some of the other high-ranking officials, and they wanted me to talk about inclusivity and diversity and how do we understand it? How do we, as as individual people, how do we make the world a better place? And that's one of the amazing things that happens here. You just get these opportunities; they come out of nowhere. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, wonderful. Well, on that note, my friend, let me say goodbye to our viewers here. For the viewers that are watching now, whether it's Michelle, who's been with us for a long time throughout this broadcast here, and Palmo, who may have been involved or watching all the time, but chimed in later on here. Thank you so much. Great to see you, Palmo. We'll see you in Calgary one of these days soon for one of our CAPS meeting when it resumes again, my friend, in person, I mean. And so great to see you folks. And for those who are watching in the rerun or recorded version, hope you enjoy the conversation here we've had with, again, Dr. Byrad Yyelland, who is in Qatar right now. And I don't know, probably at some point we'll return to Canada again here. And in fact, you come back in the summer, after you finish teaching a few semesters or whatever, you do come back to Canada. So it's a bit of back and forth for you.
Yeah, I had hoped to get back this summer, but that didn't work. And I'm hoping to get back next December. I don't know. It depends on, travel restrictions. If not in December, hopefully next summer, but you never know.
You bet. So on that note, have a great day, my friends, and take good care of yourself. Take good care of one another. Again, you've been listening to Dr. Byrad Yyelland, all the way from Qatar, about 9 hours from the future. I get to say that again.
All right.